Curtis Poehler. We have two guests in studio with us this afternoon. The first one is a student from Eastern Connecticut State University. He is the president of the College Republicans at ECSU. We have with us Wyatt Poehler. Hi, Wyatt.
Hi.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm a sophomore up at Eastern. I'm a political science major. I'm also studying pre-law, trying to get into law school. I'm currently president of College Republicans and working to get a Turning Point chapter and a Young Americans chapter started on campus.
Great. We're going to come back and talk to you in just a minute here. We want to introduce our second guest in studio with us this afternoon. He is a small business owner in Connecticut. He was a state Senate candidate last year for the 7th District. Is that correct?
That is correct.
He is also the state executive director for Latinos United for Conservative Action, and he is also a congressional candidate for CT2 in Connecticut. We have with us in studio George Austin. Welcome, George.
Howdy.
Can you tell the listening audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I can. I'm a contractor. I've been in the business for 20 years. I'm also a licensed building official. I've coached football at the youth and high school levels. I have, and I really just decided to get off my rear end and stop complaining and go ahead and win this thing for the 2nd District and make Connecticut great again, one district at a time.
That sounds great. We're going to talk to both of our guests this afternoon in just a moment. But to start off our programming, since we've been talking for the past few weeks about our municipal election cycle in the area here, we want to talk a little bit about the results that happened from Tuesday's election. Mike, do you want to start us off in the Windham area and give us highlights?
Yeah, we had the highest voter turnout since 2007.
That's great.
Wow.
You know, one thing that there was a question on the ballot on the back side with the school consolidation that failed, and other than that, the big race in town was the mayor's race. Tom retained the position, but it looked pretty promising, and it looks promising for the future. Haley was able to get 38% of the vote, first time ever campaigning. So, the voters came out, and that went that way. We sat a couple more people on the town council,
Very good.
which was really good. Actually, there's recounts going on Monday. I believe it's going to happen because we were so close. There's a threshold that the state asks for a recount. So
Right.
we've
I think
got
that's 1%.
we've got three positions, I believe.
That's right.
That are going for the recount.
Wow.
And it's all Republicans. So
Naturally.
it's really good. We've got some really big hopes for the upcoming. And then out in the Wyndham's, I won the seat because we basically there were two of us running. Somebody dropped out, so it's looking good for us this upcoming cycle.
Good. Having increased voter turnout is always good, and we did actually see that statewide. The latest numbers that I saw showed that where we talked about this last week, 2023 cycle was around 33.7%. It looks like we're going to be over 35% for statewide turnout for 2025. We're going to talk, I think, in the second segment a little bit more in depth about what happened there, because when we look across the state, it seemed like there was a kind of dramatic shift to the left. In this area, I want to specifically focus, since we're talking a lot of times about the 29th District, which Windham and Mansfield are a significant portion of. And we saw a couple of key towns that really had been Republican-held in the way of Brooklyn, Killingly, and Putnam all have a significant shift to the left. And this is after, really since 2020, in fact, all the rural towns, 153 out of 169, we had been seeing this conservative shift for the past few years. Now, I think sometimes this happens in these off-cycle elections, especially following, the election of President Trump. And one thing that I really feel is that what drives an election like this is voter enthusiasm. And that's what was capitalized by the Democratic side in Connecticut right now. I'm going to talk about it a little bit more, but if you want to come up real quick on that.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing that I noticed, and Curtis can speak more on this. Leading up to this, Curtis and Haley were out, knocking on doors daily. They were talking with people, and I think that's big, is getting out there and really letting people know that there's a difference between your federal level politics and us, and how it really affects, and not letting the news media dictate what's going on. And I'm sure you could speak more to what you saw with the actual voters face to face.
That's right. I was very excited working with the voters here in the town of Windham because, like you said, Chris, the trends in eastern Connecticut and statewide were a leftward shift, and we did not see that here in the town of Windham. The Republicans held their ground and made gains here in this town, which is fantastic. We picked up 3 seats as a Republican Party overall between all the elected positions, which is fantastic, including critical ones on the town council. And I think that we can really credit that to a fantastic ground game. Again, Haley DeSonia, our mayoral candidate, out there knocking doors with me daily for weeks and weeks leading up to the election. We had a mail campaign. We held the events, had lots of enthusiasm, and benefited strongly from a strong candidate at the top of the ticket. Haley ran a good, well-researched, well-reasoned race, was able to connect with voters across the spectrum, and I kept joking with Haley when we were knocking on doors that I kept threatening to quit working with Haley knocking on doors, because every door that Haley, our mayoral candidate, knocked on, everyone wanted to stop and talk to her. These were 20, 25-minute conversations. Yeah. This is the kind of excitement that we had around a candidate. This is the kind of excitement that we had around a good ground game where we were running in each district of the town hard. And that's where we were able to maintain our position and actually make some gains and buck some of these statewide trends. Yeah. Really proud of the party.
Yeah, most of the towns in the area did maintain, their pretty much positioning in the way of Republican versus Democrat representation. And like I said, I highlighted a couple of the significant ones, but I agree with a lot of what you guys are saying there. Do you want to comment on this, George? Get in on the conversation?
Absolutely. I think that, when I was making my rounds on election day, I made it to 19 towns. Yeah. And I want to say all but 2 or 3. And coincidentally, it was the 2 or 3 because I started at home in Suffield, working my way out. Those were probably the 2 or 3 that did not ask me about Haley. As I got closer and closer out this way, every single one says, "Oh yeah, have you heard about this 19-year-old girl? She's running for mayor." I'm like, "Yeah, that's Haley. I got a picture of her right here."
Awesome.
And and then every time us 3 were doing a thing last week on campus at Eastern, and we had several interactions where they asked us about Haley. Yeah. So Haley's making an impact, man. Haley has. I can empathize because I did a lot of doors last year when I was doing. I did all doors. My entire game was doors, and I can tell you that it is extremely. It's very exciting, but also very inefficient to have so many meaningful interactions at doors, because you could do it from sunup to sundown, and do 10 doors, and they could all be each one better than the last, but you need to. It's definitely a numbers game. Yeah. So that can definitely be a double-edged sword there. But Haley was. You're absolutely right, Curtis, about her being able to connect with a broader spectrum of voters, of Americans, which is great, because that's what our side, the right side, shall I say, very, very sorely needs. We very sorely need to broaden our base, expand our message, and yes, and we'll get to it in the next segment. But that's kind of been my whole shtick the whole time, right? Is expanding our base, because if we don't, we must throw in the towel now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. How about you, Wyatt? What do you think? What did you see on campus?
Honestly, Eastern's campus is not very politically active outside of the administration and our club. To be honest, the Republican Club is the only political organization that is in good standing on campus. All the other ones have fizzled out and been frozen by our budgeting and management committee. But yeah, this mayoral race was huge on campus. Everybody was talking about it. Like you said, we had multiple conversations where people came up to our table and were talking to us, wanting to see what we think about this 19-year-old girl who's running for office. And like you said, Mike, this was the highest turnout that we've gotten since '07, where Haley got how many votes? Do you remember? Do you have that number?
1268.
1,268 votes, which is insane for a Republican candidate in a city like Willimantic and in Windham County.
A first-time candidate, no less.
And a first-time candidate, no less, and one that is 19 years old with no experience in office running against a four-term incumbent.
A professional, otherwise, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Unreal.
And yeah, when you talk about performance, when we look at our voter registration data here in Windham, as of my last check, and Mike might be able to correct me because Mike is so tuned in with our registration statistics, but we have about a 2.5 to 1 Democrat voter registration ratio. We're ratioed 2.5 to 1 registrations in this town. By that math, we shouldn't have a single candidate pulling over 30% of the vote, and to have Haley coming in. Getting right there at 40%, right there at 39-40%, punching way above her weight, and carrying the party. I mean, just some
Big
real
time.
wins here.
Big time.
Yeah, and we kind of saw that afternoon when I visited you guys at the Windham Center Fire Department, and we heard that you were about to run out of ballots in the town, and that they had to print more. So that's always a good indication that something has changed the situation and has driven that enthusiasm that we talked about that the voters need to have in order to get them to turn out in these voting cycles. So that's all really good there. Now, the connection that you have with Registry of Voters, Mike, what's kind of the word of tabulator issues? Because we had new tabulators that we were
Well,
We had those in
introduced to.
Suffield, too.
Yeah.
yeah,
had one of those, too.
they had a lot of they had issues. I believe they were on 3 machines at the VFW. They had the extra machines. However, these machines really don't seem to stand up to what they need to.
I was going to ask about.
It just
Yeah.
that they did have some issues. I know there was a representative here from the company. I don't believe their customer service, from what I've heard from everyone, and not only the registrars, but from voters who said that they were just extremely unprofessional at the sites. And
Go figure.
but they did say that our registrars and our poll workers did a phenomenal job because, we had a couple disgruntled voters there that thought there was something shady going on, and then once they seen the process of all the checks and balances that went through and everything that happened, everyone was happy. They had, according to Facebook, and I haven't had a chance to really sit down with the registrar at all and talk about this. It's been so hectic, but on Facebook there was one complaint of somebody voting or wasn't able to vote, but their name was checked off. It turned out it was a election worker that accidentally crossed it off, and they wrote mistake on the side. It was just a simple mistake.
So human error
It was
stuff.
human error. They documented. But what you have to remember is these poll workers do not do this every single day. They're trained, a week before. A lot of them are returning, so they're better. But the new ones, it's their first time sometimes, and to make a mistake, but they did jot it down. They make note of it. So it's all documented and stuff, and and all the checks, everything balances at the end of the day.
And to that point, Mike, how about this? How many poll workers statewide were working 14 days straight because of early voting? You want to talk about a compounding error?
Oh yeah, I mean
Factor.
the mental stress alone. The poll workers at 14 days, our registrars.
Even more.
Our registrars, I know for a fact in this town, we're going on 40 days straight without a day off, working on a short day. A 12-hour day would have been a short day, an early day for them.
Unreal.
You're talking 24 hours on election day. They were there. We talk about state workers and plow workers when the snow comes and we get a 2-3 day snowstorm and they say, I worked 3 days and I worked 14-hour days, or I worked a double shift. Well, compound that by over 40 days straight. You know, and then to take someone, an elderly person, which is most of the case, that are working our polls, these 14-day early voting straight, and they just keep going.
It burns them out.
They do get burned out, and you always have that possibility for human error. And luckily, in Windham and in the surrounding towns, we had very little.
Yep. So the news from the Secretary of the State regarding the tabulators that were introduced for this election cycle on the kind of trial basis in anticipation for 2026 said that out of the 1,200 units that had been dispersed, there was only issues that were reported with 7 of them. And they said that a few of them, and real issues, and what they said was the inability to read, and a lot of times they were saying that this was caused by improper ink that was being used on the ballot, wasn't drying in time, it was getting picked up and transferred to part of the scanner where it was causing issues, and that it was really a cleaning problem. So that's what we're hearing from the state right now with regard to any of the discrepancies that happened with the tabulators so far since Tuesday's election there.
Well, I'm going to rebut that theory
right
here, right now, because in Suffield, let's see, I same day registered my younger son. He turned 18 a couple days ago.
Yep.
Rather over the weekend. Well, I guess it was a couple days ago. So, anyways, I same day registered. We same day registered him. We vote. That was at like 6:30. So I'm down. We're down at our polling place. Me and my eldest. Definitely before 7:00. All right. So that's less than an hour of ballot taking.
Yeah.
In quiet town Suffield. My ballot was the one that broke our one of our two tabulators. Mine. I presented the ballot. I inserted it into the machine as per the direction. Spits it back out. Oh, just try it again. Okay, no problem. On the third try, it takes it about halfway. It kind of buzzes, kind of like you get like a kind of like a paper jam in a printer, and then it shuts itself off. I had to fill out a new ballot.
Interesting.
So I'm not sure about that whole ink thing. After being operational for less than 1 hour.
You know, I have to kind of agree with you on that, because when they put one of the machines, they had made mention to that it was ink and you're using somebody else's ballot. This company prints ballots. So they want that monopoly, and other people also.
Are they headquartered in Bridgeport?
And we do have reason to be a little skeptical here in Connecticut.
Hey, I'm just wondering where they're coming from. That's
integrity.
all.
So I think that was the big thing is, it was the ballots. I know the representative had blamed the ballots at the VFW.
Yeah.
And then when the new machine came in, the ballots worked. So obviously it wasn't the ballots. But, and I don't know why, they think that, because it seems absurd that, the ink wouldn't dry and all this, because these ballots were pre-ordered and, these inks were dry. This is a problem with these machines, I believe.
Yeah. Well, we're going to find out. So the results are still coming in, and we're still hearing stories, just like George shared with us from Suffield. We'll see what happens. It's only been 2 days that we're hearing about some of the issues around Connecticut with the elections, but hopefully we can get this straightened out before next year's election, when I'm sure more of these machines will be across Connecticut. We have a couple more minutes here before the end of our first segment, so we're going to now take a little bit of time and talk to a couple of our guests that we have with us today. We're going to start off with you, George.
Cool.
You first came out and met with the Scotland RTC, and that's where I met you a couple of months ago, and we talked about your candidacy for the 2nd Congressional District for Connecticut, and you shared with me not only being a parent of young adults, like you said, you just registered one of your sons to vote here, but you felt that Windham was one of the towns, and specifically Willimantic, that you thought you were going to be able to make a big difference in. Can you go ahead and talk to us about that?
Absolutely. That's actually quite self-evident in events like Third Thursday. We came out and we spent some time here on Third Thursday. I guess I'm going to explain this kind of backwards, but when we were out here, there was a lot of interaction. When we spend time on campus with Wyatt, there's every interaction kind of revolves around it. Well, they all start out with a factor of surprise. Surprise that someone's going to actually come out, be it a candidate even. I'm not obviously not elected yet, but even that a candidate would come out and take people seriously and ask them serious questions and want their opinions. Old, young, right, left, black, white, blue, yellow. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
If you got an opinion, I want to hear it. And that's kind of where it all starts out with, is a big factor of surprise, which I think is refreshing, because that means that I guess, just to brag a little bit, being the first to do such a thing en masse, kind of proves my theory, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to. It really does validate my theory that bringing the conversation out to the 18 to 24 demo is. I mean, it may not be an original idea, but to be executed at this level, at this breadth, I think is a big, is definitely a big game changer. And also, not for nothing, but these kids, I really think that these kids. Well, I know that these kids are going to save this country. Because I being a millennial, we are the ones who instituted and accepted the participation trophy, and the mindset that comes along, with that. And I firmly believe, I've been saying it for months. Mm-hmm. I will, and I maintain on it. I stand on it that Gen Z will save us because they have to. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if they don't, folks, I don't know where we're going. My wife, my eldest son, and my dad are all from Mexico. Everyone's coming here. Mm-hmm. I don't know anyone who's fleeing to Madagascar, or or who's going to Nicaragua, right? I believe it was, this is a misquote. But it was Winston Churchill who said that you can measure a country by observing how many want in and how many want out, and that's something. From an immigrant's perspective, or a first generation American's a perspective, but to bring it back to, which is a large segment of the population here in Willimantic. There's a large Hispanic population, and which is not to say that every first generation American is of Hispanic descent. That's not what I'm saying, but it just happens to be what the case is here in Willimantic, and also with myself. Mm-hmm. And that's a big trend growing statewide, even nationwide. Mm-hmm. It's the fastest growing voting bloc, other than Gen Z. So that's kind of where my focus is.
Good. And the reason we have both George and Wyatt here with us today is because the three of us participate in an event up at Eastern last week. Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? So that was your event that you brought there that we kind of all collaborated on and spent the afternoon talking to a number of Eastern students. Do you want to talk just a little bit about what we did up there?
So we'll do it briefly. Yeah, it was, I wanted to get the sense of what the student body thought, because I know what I think, and I know I'm typically in a room with like-minded people, so I can predict what we all agree on, or for the most part, anyways. But it was my contention that a big issue is going to be affordability, but you can't just go out and say, oh, is this affordable? Is that affordable? Because you got to put it in context for your audience, and your audience, for the most part, well, if not for the most part, enough of them don't have the life experience of having to make ends meet, of having to make hard choices, of having to pay bills, so on and so forth, be insofar as the student body. So we wanted to get them thinking about and that was the question that we asked outright, can you afford to stay in the state after you graduate? Yeah. And to a large number said no. Right. But that they wanted to. And that was a surprise. The surprising part was the fact that it was prefaced with, I want to, but no. And then I would say the second, and that was the vast majority. I would say about 2/3. And then the last third was kind of split up in between, I haven't thought about it, which is scary. Yeah. and some of these were seniors. Yeah, some of these were seniors as a business major. I'm like, dude, man, you're going to be kicked off of campus here, in a handful of months. You better be thinking about it. Yeah. Which I hope we encourage them to do. Yeah. And that's where we got the idea, and I wanted it to be a little punchier, kind of in the Steven Crowder, Charlie Kirk way of having something. I wanted to spark a debate, but I think this was a really good starting point. And not for nothing, But the fact that I think Wyatt had registered us there about 2 weeks in advance or so.
Right.
And I recall, please correct me if I'm wrong, I may be, I go a lot of places, but wasn't A.G. Tong supposed to be there the day before?
Yeah.
A.G. Tong was there the day that
day
you
of.
were. The
But
day you were there.
but he was advertised to be there the day before.
So the flyer said
the flyer said that, anyways.
Tuesday, October 29th, which made no sense because the 29th was a Wednesday.
Right.
Yeah.
So, just wondering, I wonder where that came from. Is that just a coincidence? Okay. Because, listen, we could have always had more interactions. I'm a very political capitalist. I always want more. I'm greedy for more interactions, more results, always. But we had a good number of them. I just wonder, did we have less because there was more there was more of an audience elsewhere? Yeah. I wonder.
Well, we're going to be talking to one of those students in just 1 minute here when we come back from our break. This is the end of our first segment of Right Now on 1400 AM, 95.3 FM, WILI. Welcome back to Right Now on 1400 AM, 95.3 FM, WILI. I'm Chris Reddy. We have Mike DeSaunier, Curtis Poehler. We have two guests with us today in studio. Congressional candidate for the CT2 district, George Austin. And we are now going to talk with our guest from Eastern Connecticut State University, president of the College Republicans, Wyatt Poehler.
Go Warriors.
Yeah. We really appreciate you coming in here and taking the time to kind of give us the perspective of a younger voter. We, as we talked about before the break there, were up at Eastern last week, right in front of Webb Hall in the grass in the afternoon, talking to students, asking them questions, and I really felt that there was some pretty good engagement there. Being a representative of a conservative organization on campus, how do you feel engagement is between conservatives and the student body up at Eastern?
Yeah, like I was saying in the last segment, the conservative group is actually the only political organization that is on campus right now. And so we don't really have a college Democrats group to talk to. But whenever we can, we try to make discussions with people on campus. That event that we hosted on Wednesday was a great opportunity to do that. And at the at the start of each semester, our school hosts what's called an involvement fair, where all the clubs on campus basically have tables outside or inside what we call the Betty Tipton room, which is in our student center, where basically it's how we gain membership to our clubs. We put ourselves out there. And we had it in front of the Fine Arts Building this past time, and on my table I was getting zero traction. No one was coming up to the table until I finally took a piece of paper out of my binder and wrote on it, "Debate me." And then people were coming up in swarms to come talk to me. Problem is, none of them wanted to debate me on politics.
Sure.
So unfortunately, politics is not the big thing on our
What did they want to talk about then?
I got quite a few people ask me LeBron or Jordan. Quite
Jordan.
a few people. Yes, that's what I
Prove me
said.
wrong.
That's what I said. Quite a few people asked me pancakes or waffles. Let's be real, it's waffles.
Pancakes.
Oh, get out of here. I got one abortion argument, but other than that, there was no political discussion.
So you said earlier in our segment that there was some talk about Haley as running for mayor for Willimantic on campus. Have you noticed, especially in light of recent events like the assassination of Charlie Kirk, that there is more political conversation on campus? Are they talking about local issues? Are they talking about national level issues? What do you kind of feel that atmosphere is like up there?
It's definitely shifted more national. Okay. We gained a significant amount of members since the assassination of Kirk. We started this semester with maybe 10 members, and now we're up to around 40 who are on our roster.
Yeah.
Obviously, they don't all attend every single meeting
Sure,
because of time constraints, which is why I'm happy that we do this on a Thursday where I don't have any classes.
Good. Very convenient. Convenient for you, yeah.
But there is a lot more political interest on campus since the Kirk assassination. We are we're in the process now of getting a Democrats club started on campus to have a place for open discussion.
Good. And I think that's something that has really been lost in the past couple of decades. You see such a shift in high schools where they're getting away from debate and kind of the ability to have that open discourse in a polite and respectful manner. that I think it's really important that you kind of bring that back as a young conservative, and kind of talking to people that are not of the same political orientation that you are.
Well, yeah, because the important thing is that we always keep on talking. Charlie said it before. A guy named Daryl Davis, who was he put himself, is a black man from the 60s, went to KKK meetings and actually convinced members of the Klan to hang up their robes. He actually got a Grand Wizard to hang up his robes and completely renounce the Klan. And their big message was, when the talking stops, that's when the violence starts.
Right.
And if we just keep on talking, we keep on asking questions, we're going to be okay, which is honestly why I find it disturbing that we have our FBI director, Kash Patel, saying questions are dangerous. Because questions is what protects our freedom. If we ask questions, then we can stem the violence. Just have that discussion.
Yeah, that's a great point. I agree with you 100%, and I think that really is something that we need to look to in the future, because over the past, it's hard to believe it's only been like 8.5 weeks that we've kind of been talking about this rhetoric that is way beyond anything that we should see in America and in our politics. And it seems like the attention span of the audience of America is so short that we're really struggling with being able to maintain a status where we don't have to fight like this. Like, we really have to kind of get to the place where we can just talk again. I don't think that things are necessarily getting better. We're still seeing some pretty significant rhetoric out there that's disturbing. And to think, you look at the Attorney General's race in Virginia with someone who clearly thought so much about violence towards another political opponent.
And kids, too.
And children. And people were able to overlook that and actually vote that person into office as the head of law enforcement for that state. That's disturbing. Like, that's
We
really
definitely
sad.
saw that in local elections. Like, we had the Columbia Republicans here the last couple of weeks on the show, and just their attempts to engage in voters in civil discourse, like we're talking about here. Just that simple small town campaigning at the dump. They're getting an onslaught of slurs against them and their character. We saw that here with Haley. Haley standing on the corner of Jillson Square, time-honored tradition, waving and inviting voters to park their cars, come up and talk. And Haley and the group were getting every name in the book thrown at them. There's just this perception of the label of Republican being less than human with a certain kind of person. And that's dangerous when we get into our little cliques. We start talking amongst ourselves, and we start not seeing each other as people, not seeing each other as human.
That's a common thing on our campus as well, where there's the dangerous political rhetoric. We have an app that basically all the students of our school have. It's called Fizz, and it's basically this social media app, kind of like Twitter X or whatever they're calling it now, that is bubbled from the administration. So administration and the teachers at the school have no ability to access this app. And it's just students talking to one another. And I've been called horrific things that I cannot repeat while on the radio. On that app, I've been called things like a domestic abuse apologist, which is something I would never, ever. That is, it's horrific.
Really?
Yeah.
It's so easy to criticize somebody.
And
on
people
your
believe
screen.
it.
Yeah.
And people
Keyboard
believe it.
warriors.
They eat it
man.
up.
Keyboard warriors.
Exactly.
They eat it up. And I mean, I don't personally feel any threat to my safety on campus, mainly because I'm not a little dude. Nobody's really going to try to fight me on campus or attack me. And people kind of just, walk right by me. But in my classes, I'm political science major, so I take politics classes. It's interesting, however, to see how many conservatives there are there. Our campus is way more conservative than one would think, and it's a great thing.
Yeah, and I agree with that. With the couple of times that I've been up there and talking to students, I felt the same thing. Was surprised pleasantly that was the case also, as well with my experience. One thing I want to ask you about with Turning Point USA.
Yes.
And what you're trying to do on campus there. What is the reaction that you're getting from students? Because clearly engagement with young conservatives and young people through Turning Point USA, it has skyrocketed recently. What are you starting to see as kind of the way people are feeling about a chapter coming to Eastern?
So we haven't actually had much talk about it on campus. We hosted our interest meeting. I'm going to be submitting paperwork to our Student Government Association to get the club officially on campus. I'll probably submit that at some point this week. But there hasn't been much talk about it. There was at the interest meeting, George came down, took a picture, and that actually did make it onto Fizz. And they were calling us cowards, saying that we claimed that we're starting a Turning Point and now we're denying it, which we never denied that we were starting a Turning Point. We are very open about the fact that we're getting that on campus. But there's a very big hatred of Turning Point on our campus.
And I saw that last year because I went to one of the Turning Point USA events up at UConn where Alex Stein was the guest. And clearly, the couple of times that Turning Point USA has had events up at UConn, they've been met with a little bit of kind of pushback and controversy on campus. I know when I was there, this was set up right across from Gamble and the student union, and there were a number of police officers that were upstairs on the second and third floor of the student union watching the crowd and stuff like that. So, when you talked about personal security, I don't think that's something that we're overly cautious about, but obviously it's something that is a concern up there. When you look at bringing something like Turning Point USA chapter to Eastern, and really Connecticut being a very blue state, do you expect that you're going to get some kind of backlash to introducing this to the campus?
Physically, no. But just through word of mouth, yes, I'm expecting that. And even with the Republicans chapter, we always make sure that we have campus security when we do events outside. Yeah. I don't know if you saw the officer that was kind of walking around on Wednesday. And after
Lou?
Lou.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Lou. I like Lou.
Love that guy. And after the assassination of Kirk, we hosted a vigil out on that same lawn where we were all gathered around in a circle praying with candles. And two of the sergeants from the police department came out and they were praying with us, and they were just there spending time with us, which was really nice to see, especially the fact that our campus security is so engaged with the community. It's amazing to see. But I don't foresee any physical harm coming to us. It's not a very physically violent campus.
Sure. Yeah.
But I do expect a lot of pushback.
Do you think they're going to try and prevent you from getting a chapter up there? Like, are they going to be able to?
There's nothing the student body can do to prevent it.
Yeah.
As long as we have the interest. We needed 10 people to be interested. So 5 members of an executive board, sans myself, and 5 general members in order to start a club. It doesn't matter how much pushback there is among the Eastern community. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's great to hear. Now you have all this excitement from your college Republican group. It sounds like about 40 members, growing from 10 at the beginning of the year.
Yes, sir.
And now enough movement to start a Turning Point USA group. But you're saying that there's pushback from the student body on both, particularly on Turning Point. How do you see yourself as a college Republican, as an active member of the student body, get to some of these students who you've all mentioned when you've met them? Many express conservative ideas, to engage with you despite the stigma of the Republican. They might have conservative views, but might be scared to engage with the label Republican.
I mean, yeah, because unfortunately a lot of people think that the Republican Party is a far-right political party now, which it's not if you actually understand what the political spectrum looks like, or if any knowledge of politics to begin with.
But
I think that, like, we did the tabling event, we put our name on it, but we didn't make that the forefront thing of this is our group doing it. It's just we have a U.S. House candidate coming to campus. Come talk to this guy. So, like, we're planning to do some fundraising events next semester. We're particularly planning to do a bake sale. And the main thing is we're not going to blast out that this is college Republicans, but more just come engage with us, just talk with us. It doesn't matter what our label is.
Get baked with Wyatt Poehler.
I don't think that's what I'm going to name it, but hey, I'll put it out to the club.
It's great hearing these ideas that you have for how to engage with a student body that I'm hearing from all of you is fairly conservative, and how to get that converted over to a participating Republican, someone who's not afraid of the stigma. We see that here in Windham, the town of Windham. I feel like our party is winning the war of ideas when it comes to the budget referendums. The voters are very, very much aligned with the Republican message and the Republican ideas when it comes to the school consolidation project and how the vote went down on that. The voters at large are very in line with Republican principles, Republican ideas. But getting some of those voters over to vote our line, to associate with our line, to participate in our party, that's so big. So hearing how you plan on making that happen in campus, like, that's the incubator. Like, your new ideas, your Gen Z ideas, that's what we want to be able to interact with you and learn from and grow from, because it's easy to get stuck in our little routines here in our little small Eastern Connecticut towns.
And that's why we're starting up Turning Point and Young America's Foundation on campus, both of which are nonpartisan organizations. Mm-hmm. They're conservative, but they don't align themselves with the Republican Party, and they don't endorse Republican candidates, nor do they endorse Democratic candidates. Right. We've been working very close with Young America's Foundation. We're also working close with an organization called Leadership Institute, where actually after tomorrow I'm hopping on a plane and flying down to Arlington, Virginia to go to a conference with them. And then next week I'm hopping on another plane to go to Santa Barbara, California for a conference with Young America's Foundation at the Reagan Ranch.
Hey, don't forget about us here back in Little Windham, Connecticut.
Don't you worry. I advertise us. I advertise our little community. I love this little community. And the main goal of these two organizations is promote free speech. Give a place for everybody to have their voices be heard, which is why college Republicans, sure, we're labeled Republicans, but we're open to everybody. I actually want Democrats to come and join our club. I want them to come and talk to us so that we can hear a different perspective, have that discussion, and just keep the conversation going.
Awesome.
We have one other guest here this afternoon that we're going to continue to speak to for a few minutes before the end of our show. We have George Austin, who is a congressional candidate for CT2, in the studio with us. We were talking a little while ago about you feeling that Willimantic was one of the areas that was very important for you to be able to kind of capture some of the votes that you need to beat Joe Courtney. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I found interesting about Willimantic as I was out last year knocking on doors was that so many people in the Hispanic community that I spoke to were multi-generational in one household. Mm-hmm. They seemed very religious. Mm-hmm. Family being very important, children being very important. These are all really conservative values. Yet we have such disparity that Curtis just spoke about in Willimantic, where Democratic voters outnumber Republican voters 2-1. Some of those have to be some of the Hispanic voters in this community. Mm-hmm. Can you kind of talk about what you think you can do to sway those decisions and kind of use your heritage to help secure some of those votes you need to overcome the difference to beat Joe Courtney next year?
Absolutely. Let's say that first and foremost, I talk the talk, so I'll be walking the walk too. And having a football background, when you have, if you have 5 Jerry Rices on your team, you're not going to be worried about your run game so much. Mm-hmm. So you play to your strengths is what I'm trying to say. So yes, with regard, which is going to come a full circle in a second, but with regard to the Hispanic community, we're very innately conservative. And those who vote, which is not enough, That is kind of be a underlying theme to this response. But those who vote tend to vote conservative too. Maybe they don't put a label on it. Maybe they're unaffiliated. Maybe they're independent. But they definitely vote conservative. We're definitely proponents of promoting the nuclear family. We're definitely proponents of protecting our unborn. There's no question there. Many first generations like myself, say for example, hey, my dad hopped the border 6 times, got caught by the same agent 6 times. At least that's how he tells the story. So who am I to discredit that story? But so again, you got first generations like myself, even second generations like my youngest son. Everyone knows someone, or if they're an immigrant, actually themselves. Everyone knows someone who has a direct line of sight to having come here escaping an ism of some variety. Communism, socialism, or whatever. Crime, law and order. Oh my God, the Second Amendment. There's so many things that we can go on and on and on and on and on about the appeals that Americanism and freedom have over any of these insert name here countries of origin. I personally have lost 2 first cousins to black market organs in Mexico. They were nabbed in broad daylight. They were gutted, and a couple days later, their husks were discarded in broad daylight.
Sorry.
And no one can do that. No one can do nothing about it because you can't own weapons. So the only ones who can are those who don't follow the law, which are the cartels, los Zetas, etc. Even the military or Marines. There's too many of those are crooked as well. You can't own so on and so forth. You go down the line. It's about trying to remind the Hispanic community of all these things. Someone who has lived it themselves. I mean, hey, I'm a Hispanic guy in construction. I spend my days speaking Spanish and some guerrilla Portuguese at work. I don't get to speak English until I get home or at lunchtime on the phone.
Yeah.
So, having some innate experience, having almost all my experience is innate and practiced within the community, it's going to take a sense of familiarity and relatability to coax them out from the non-voting realm into the voting realm. Because quite honestly, I mean, yes, I want, in a perfect world, which doesn't exist and won't exist, but in a perfect world, I want everyone I come into contact with to vote our way. I don't want to just win elections. I want landslides. My goal is to make Connecticut great again. I want to see which could refer to a time before the institution of the income tax, say for example. I mean that's just one idea which would fix a whole lot of stuff, I think. But I want to definitely see, and it's absolutely doable. But you need the right salesman. You need someone with salesmanship to go out there, again, walk the walk, talk the talk, to relate and to be able to relate and relay our message, and be able to point to, hey, Pew Research shows that just in the past 2 presidential elections, between 2020 and last year, we had a 19-point deficit in the Hispanic community. Last year, as a result of the president's coalition, we are up 2 points in that demographic. Yep. It's just a matter of building on this trend. So to bring this really full circle, while that trend, what I call the pendulum of culture, being at our backs, maybe that didn't play out so much in the municipals. Timing is one thing. A sense of complacency was another. Because of the national election last year, we all kind of thought we could just, chill. So there's a couple factors at play, but yes, that will ultimately lead to our victory come next year.
Good. Well, thank you. We're coming up to the top of the hour here and the end of our show. Before we go, George, do you have contact information? So if people would like to learn more about your campaign, contribute, or find out more about you, they can contact you?
Vote George for Congress. That's the word for, not the number. VoteGeorgeForCongress.com. I'm on Facebook, George for Congress. I have an X handle coming out. I believe it's George for Congress, but I think that's with a number. I'm not 100% sure. Hey, listen, I spend my days building stuff. I don't. So it was my manager who just got me to open up an X account, so I got to figure that one out.
Okay, well, thank you very much for being here with us this afternoon. Wyatt, thank you very much for participating in our show this afternoon. Curtis and Mike, we appreciate you being here as always. This is Chris Reddy. This has been Right Now on 1400 AM, 95.3 FM, WILI.